Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of A2Z by SRG. I'm Andy, this is Z. And what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about retro consoles that are not third party, but are actually made by the companies themselves. So Nintendo, Sega, Sony, etc, 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 etc. And what's the best ones to play on in 2025?
So is this the podcast where we're actually going to talk about the official ones?
Correct.
Okay, so I can say that I've got the Super Nintendo Mini, the PlayStation Classic. I can say that now?
You can say that.
Hey! Okay, cool. So, you know what? I like my mini consoles. I do like them, and I think it's a really cool way to bring back memories from yesteryear onto the modern technology. I mean, do you have any?
Of the like official ones?
Yeah.
So I've got the Nintendo NES, what's known as the NES Classic.
Yeah.
I have the Super Nintendo one.
Cool.
I have the ZX Spectrum, Sinclair Spectrum. I have the Commodore 64. I also have the latest Atari one that came out as well.
Oh, serious?
Yep.
Nice.
And I think there's one other one that is coming out soon, which I'm looking forward to buying. I think it's the new Amiga version, or is it the new 64? I forget which one it is.
Right.
But they're it's the one so that the keys actually work on it, because there's obviously games from those days you required the keyboard for it to run.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that coming out as well.
What's the N64 one that you got in pre-order? They're going to give me for my birthday.
Sure. That's made by Analogue, so that's third party.
Oh, my bad.
It's not an official model, although it's still going to be a very cool one, but it's been delayed, unfortunately.
Alright, cool. Okay, what's your favourite then?
My favourite, so... I'm going to have to say it's the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic.
Okay, cool.
Mainly because it just took me back to a time when I was getting into video games. So for me, the Super Nintendo, similar to yourself, is one of my early consoles, my early loves. Ironically, my very first console was the Sega Mega Drive, or the Sega Genesis in America, but I didn't buy the mini version of that. It didn't appeal to me for some reason.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know there was a mini version out of the Mega Drive.
But I decided not to get it.
Okay.
There was a reason for it, and I can't remember what it was, but it is something which I was like, no, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, mine is obviously the Super Nintendo for similar reasons. It just took me back to the time when I was 7 and I opened the original Super Nintendo and just went mad about it. And playing Super Mario World on a big screen TV, whilst it was quite pixelated, it was still a lot of fun. And I still can't get past the first level of R-Type.
Sure.
I still can't get past it. But even playing the likes of Super Tennis, which is a really cool sports game, I was okay at single player, but my sisters used to whoop me at that game every single time, no matter what I tried. It was really, really cool.
Nice. As it should be.
Yeah.
I have a different question for you.
Yeah, cool.
So you're a PlayStation gamer.
Yeah.
Why is the PlayStation Classic not your number one?
Now, that's a really good question, and it's a question that a few people have asked me. One thing that I found with the old PlayStation games is that when you put them onto like stupidly high res TVs, some of the games they don't render well.
Sure.
One game in question was Resident Evil 1. It was a really good game. I preferred Resident Evil 2, but when I played the first one, I was like, I had to squint so much to try and figure out where I was in the game.
So, are you talking about running the games on the original PlayStation?
No, on the classic.
On the classic. So even on that, it's still pixelated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that because I'm not a PlayStation gamer.
No, that's cool.
So, the PlayStation Classic didn't solve that problem.
No, which is really weird because I was like, all these cool games that I used to play from yesteryear, I can play on this, on my TV and stuff, and I can. It's just that at times some games are really good. Gran Turismo still holds up well. Colin McRae Rally still holds up well. Street Fighter EX plus Alpha holds up well. Tekken 3, those kind of games, they still hold up well. Resident Evil, I was so upset because I was like, I'm gonna play Resident Evil 2, but yeah, unfortunately it was one of those games where I was like, I'm gonna stick to my original, which is a shame. But you can appreciate it was the mid to late 90s technology there, and we're using modern day technology now to try and upscale it. There's going to be some
it's never going to be perfect on modern technology, on modern TVs, but I thought that the PlayStation, is it called the PlayStation Classic?
Yeah.
PlayStation Classic should have solved a lot of that, because if you can upscale a Nintendo NES and the Super Nintendo, surely you could do that with a PlayStation.
Exactly what I thought as well, but unfortunately, for those types of games, they didn't. Okay. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed.
So you stick with the Super Nintendo Classic, as the main one.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. So from my perspective, I have a Super Nintendo Classic. I've never opened it because I have my original Super Nintendo hooked up to a CRT TV.
Yeah.
And the experience is significantly better. I don't have to worry about scaling up, pixelation, or anything like that. Now, I do know that you can have different options in that. You can say, CRT style, original pixel, so on and so forth. But I like having those devices in my collection, but not enough to buy more.
Okay.
So like the new ones that will come out in the near future, I don't think I'm going to get them.
Right.
I don't see any need to add them to my collection because I've got the originals. I've played around with a little bit of the, the revamped version, and I'm not sold on them. The NES Classic, I remember we got two because they were extremely sought after.
Yeah.
But one was for my own personal collection to just go in and to be held, and the other one was to be used at the SRG events.
Yeah.
So you might remember. I remember I brought it down and loads of people came down just to play it. And the irony was, I had the original Nintendo NES and then the Classic sitting next to it. Most people played the original.
Okay.
And yet the Classic was sitting there. People looked at it and, it's cute, it's nice, it's a little diddy little NES. But more people played the original device. Which made me wonder, why do we need these things?
Could it be just another price point for the likes of Nintendo and Sony to get us to buy something just to try and relive our old memories, or to get to another market where obviously a PlayStation 1 loaded with 20-30 games or however many they came with is kind of a way of saying this is what we had back in the day to the newer type of gamers.
Perhaps, but I'm not sold on them. That's the thing. So from my perspective, I always say if you can get the original technology, get the original tech and run games off of that. It's a better experience if you can access a CRT TV, basically an old TV. If you can't, and you need to use it on a modern HD TV, you've got like a 80-inch monster TV hanging on your wall, for example, and you want to play Excite Bite on your Nintendo NES, which is pure pixelated joy. It's definitely not going to work.
Yeah.
That's where you need to then buy a NES Classic in order to play the game. But I don't know anyone who does that. And I think that might be a little bit of an extreme example from my perspective. I do think that you're more likely to pay, for example, GoldenEye on a big screen. And that still kind of works when you're using the the Nintendo Switch. And like we played GoldenEye just a few weeks ago. The whole group of us got together and we used the Nintendo Switch and the N64 emulator, and it worked great. Worked really, really well. There's no pixelation, no slowdown. It was completely fine. But I don't know anyone who still uses the classic consoles that have been re-released. I don't know anybody who actively is like, that's my go-to console.
I've got them, don't get me wrong, I've got them in the cupboard behind my TV. So as you know, where my TV is, there's a cupboard behind it, and I've got all my consoles in there. And I purposely got a converter so I can hook up the N64 to it. But again, it's few and far between with regards to which games I can play. GoldenEye is great on my big screen TV, don't get me wrong, but if I have a choice...
Do you play GoldenEye on the Switch, or do you play it on something else?
Most of the time on the Switch. If I feel nostalgic, I'll play on the 64.
So you've got all these classics. The PlayStation Classic, you've got the Super Nintendo Classic, I've got the NES Classic, the many things. Do you actually use them on a day-to-day basis?
When you say not on a day-to-day basis, when I feel like playing some retro gaming day basis,
right?
I do use them.
Okay. So you wouldn't use for example, your original Super Nintendo or your original PlayStation. You'd actually opt for the re-released classic devices
for convenience purposes.
Convenience meaning.
Well, I can hook up an HDMI straight to one of those devices and it just works. I don't have to mess around with converters and whatever else.
I see. Because you've got a big screen TV.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you're someone who will use the new devices. I'm not. I like the old school experience. I like using the original consoles on the TV. I like the process of finding a cartridge. Plugging it in, turning it on. Did it work? Did it not? Take it out.
You're meant to blow them?
Apparently not, but hey,
it works. It works.
So, what is your go-to console then, on a day-to-day basis for retro gaming?
For retro gaming, it would be the Switch. Other than that, it would be my Super Nintendo Mini if I want to get that experience.
Right. Interesting. So it's the classic device and a modern device that basically Nintendo's giving to you.
Yeah.
And you're having to pay for a subscription for, correct?
Yes.
Right, got it. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just from my perspective, my go-to retro gaming device is the Evercade.
Ah, okay.
But it's not an original device. It's a third party. But they've got licensed games. So to me, that kind of works. Now, I want to get the Evercade, I think it's called the VR or VSR or something like that.
Is that the bigger one that you have?
Yeah. So it's actually, it plugs into your HDMI port onto your TV.
Yeah.
You can put into carts, and then I think it's 2 or 4 controllers that you can have.
Nice.
And it basically turns into a console, which you plug into your TV and you're playing retro games. But again, you're absolutely right. It's not a first party, it's a third party device. So I'm trying to give an answer here and I'm struggling because I just don't use these devices.
Yeah.
They're just too inconvenient for me from an experience perspective. Inconvenient is not the right word. They're not authentic enough for me.
That's fair though, because even when we were to play an N64 at yours, you'll break out your old school TV, you'll get the N64 and you'll hook it up, and that's fine. If I had a CRT TV, I'd be doing the same thing. Yeah. And I'll have to get the one with like the VHS at the bottom, like you got, just for old school purposes.
That's such a nice thing. I don't know why. I've got some VHS cassettes dotted around. I think they're at my parents' place, hidden away.
One of the hiding places. Yeah.
I've actually got the entire collection of Deep Space Nine.
What's that?
Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I know what Deep Space Nine is. I'm being facetious again. My bad.
Good. And he really needs some new jokes. He does the same joke.
I know, man.
Maybe I should go home and watch that, and then just think about how to answer this question better. So, all right, let's wrap this up very quickly.
Yeah.
What are your top? No, different question. What
God.
advice would you give to people, to our billions of viewers that are watching us?
No pressure.
What advice would you give to them if they're like, I want to experience old school games on modern TVs? What advice would you give these people?
If you've got access to the classics, so the Super Nintendo Mini, NES Mini, PlayStation Classic, by all means, go for that. Other than that, if you want to experience retro gaming on a big screen TV, on a newer technology, try and adopt the third-party consoles. I know we're not going to talk about them. It's not the subject of this video. Try and adopt some of them because, again, some of the stuff they're doing is pretty awesome. If not, do what I'm doing right now, is go on the Switch library. If you get a subscription, I think you've got the Mega Drive Classics, the 64 and the Super Nintendo.
You've got Game Boy in there as well.
And Game Boy. Super Alleyway still counts.
And I think you got NES on there as well.
Really? I don't remember playing any NES games on there. I'll have to check.
I think there is, yeah.
But yeah, I'd go for that. Again, just for convenience purposes, because like we're saying, some of the hardware is so sought after nowadays.
The originals,
yeah.
Some of the prices have gone crazy.
Yeah. So if you want to try it, like dip your toe in the water, as they say, go for that.
So what's your top 3 devices
for playing retro games?
Original ones for playing for retro gaming. I mean, we're not going to talk about esports, are we?
LAN parties and stuff from back in the day. So top 3, I know.
Halo, Xboxes, connect them all up. Yeah. Sorry, I digress.
Yes,
you got me excited for a second.
Another subject maybe for another day. My top 3 retro gaming consoles: PS1
Classic,
Super Nintendo Classic,
and
NES Classic, yeah. In that,
and the NES Classic.
And the NES, yeah, just those three.
Nice.
Not in that order though, but just those three, yeah. Just leave me there for a day with those three and I'm happy.
Okay.
Cool.
I would say the ZX Spectrum, the new one that came out, not because it's a fantastic XYZ or the games are phenomenal or anything, it's just, it looks almost exactly the same as the original.
Right.
And the original ones are so rare and they're so hard to come by, and like that little thing that came out, I was like, I love it, it's great.
Awesome.
Then you've got the Commodore 64 Mini that came out.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yep.
And it's so cute. It's such a cute little thing. Like, it's about that big.
Yeah.
Where the original one is like that. It's massive, big, chunky, heavy thing. But it's such a cute little device, and it's got some great games on it. I bought that as a gift for my brother, and he actually never told me if it's any good, but I'm assuming it is because I haven't heard any complaints.
Okay, cool.
And then I think for a third one, for myself, it's going to have to be the Super Nintendo Classic. However, I will put in a little bit of a joker card here.
Okay.
And say to people, for your third choice, I would probably go for the console that you loved the most. Why? You might be a Mega Drive user, you might be a NES, you might be a Super Nintendo, you might be an Amiga, a Commodore 64, PlayStation. Pick the console that is from your childhood. So for you, Super Nintendo.
All day.
Hence why the Classic is there.
Yeah.
For myself, I grew up, ZX Spectrums, Commodore 64, Commodore Amiga is my first probably 10 years of my gaming life before Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, which is why I've got a Commodore Amiga 1200 sitting on my desk, permanently hooked up, which I like to turn on and play games on.
Yeah.
So my argument's always been the same. Do what makes you happy, enjoy it. Don't do it for the sake of doing it because Andy thinks it's right, or I think it's right, or some other random person on YouTube.
I think that's gaming as a whole. Do what makes you happy. And I think it's one thing that we always distill home. I mean, like I said, I can talk about the Super Nintendo till the cows come home. I love it.
Well, I'm going to get you a cup of coffee, and then we're going to talk about Super Nintendo till the cows come home, because there's a cow in the new Super Mario Kart world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a cow. You can be a cow. Okay. I guess it's not Super Mario Kart, it's just Mario Kart World, isn't it?
Yeah. But we'll still be playing the original.
It's the best.
Exactly.
Literally the best one.
That was awesome. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed the chat. And until next time, see you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.